Okay, let's continue and talk about the idea of precedent. And the nice thing about precedent and about the law in general is that you can almost always predict how something's going to turn out because it usually turns out like it's turned out before. And because of that, lots of cases never make it to trial because an attorney can look at a case and say, look, the court has always held X on issues like this, so they're probably going to hold X for you, so there's really no point in wasting your money going to court because you're going to lose. Or, the court always holds in favor of cases like this, so let's do it. It's worth it because you'll likely win. And those are the types of decisions that lawyers make based on how the court has acted in the past. They generally do what they've done before. Now, the United States has been around for a while, and Americans are very litigious people, and so there's been a lot of cases on a lot of issues. But every now and then, something brand new comes before the court, something that they've never thought about. And this happens a lot like in internet-related law and in other areas that are just really very new. And when something comes before the court that they've just never even thought about before, that is called a case of first impression, which is something that makes everybody very excited because it's thrilling for an attorney to be able to do something that has never happened before. And although in my lifetime I haven't done very many cases, because I usually did administrative type of law, I did have a case once, again as a volunteer attorney, where I had an issue of first impression. And I'll tell you about it, just because it was very interesting and because there was no precedent. I was representing a woman from Korea. She had married an American man back in the war days, and had come to the United States, had become a citizen, had a child, they owned a store, they were living a happy life, and then all of a sudden, really out of the blue from her perspective, her husband left her, sold the store, took all the money, and became a woman, which was very shocking to her. So she came to me through the organization I was volunteering for and wanted to get a divorce. It occurred to me that in Washington at the time, a woman could not be married to a woman. So she didn't need to get a divorce. The marriage could be annulled instead. And it was an issue of first impression. The court in Washington had never decided whether, if somebody changed sexes during the marriage, whether the marriage persisted or not. And I was quite excited to sort of explore this. But the woman that I was representing was not excited about it at all. She really didn't want anybody to know, and she certainly didn't want the news that might have accompanied a case of first impression like this before the court. So we never actually explored that issue on the request of the client. We just went ahead and did an ordinary dissolution, and it ended up just being an ordinary case. But, occasionally a new question does come before the court, and it usually comes with, new breakthroughs in technology or medicine that just bring the court things that had not happened before. Anyway, precedent, though, usually the court decides in a way very similar to what they did before. But as you've seen in the reading and seen in some of the other lectures I posted, the court is not bound by what it did before. It can decide in a completely different way, and it just needs to make a decision as to whether it's appropriate to do what they've always done, or whether for some reason, in this particular case, it makes sense to make a different decision, and that's one of the reasons why the judges get paid the big bucks. When they do make a decision to change something, they usually change something on very narrow grounds. It's very seldom that they just throw out an entire statute or, throw out the way that they've always done something. They usually do things on piecemeal grounds, and I think Roe versus Wade is a good example of that because in Roe versus Wade, the court determined that a woman had the right to get an abortion under Fourth Amendment privacy rights, and courts have been chipping away at that ever since, and the court has never said, okay, women no longer have this right, but they have minimized the right over the years, a little bit here, a little bit there, and that's how the court tends to work on issues of precedence. Rather than throwing out what they did before and saying, oh, we were wrong, they usually will, nip and tuck at it until it's all but disappeared. So in the next part, we're going to come back and talk about exhaustion of remedies.